Thank you. Wow. It's finally here. If y'all didn't know, those are the pearls of wisdom over there. There's Pearl, Pearline, and Pearlette. Actually, that's a take on the three of us that sit together at meetings in Little Rock. We're the pearls of wisdom. But anyway, I'm Gary, and I'm alcoholic.
Hi, Gary.
Thank y'all for having me. My sobriety date is November 17th, 1981. So I have 39 years and 362 days. I'm still in shock. I can't believe I've been sober almost 40 years. Harvey, wasn't it wild? Just like, I can't believe I'd have done this for 40 years. It doesn't even, I can just see that row of chairs over there. It just seems like it was a couple of years ago, and it's like 10 or 12. Anyway, I'm so glad to be here, and thank y'all so much for asking me to come. This means a lot, since I was one of those people that helped get this thing going, and the person responsible for Parlor Squalor is sitting back there too. If y'all'd like to speak to him on your way out, and, if you yes or no on his thoughts. I thought it was I just thought, I can't see that on the Dallas Intergroup Association. Yeah, that Parlor Squalor group has a good meeting over at 9 o'clock on what? But anyway, I got sober. I moved here in 1981. My family history is all alcoholics except my mother. I was the youngest of three. I'm the only survivor. Everybody's gone. And that's what's been interesting in that sense. My dad was a horrible drunk. My mother's brother was a horrible drunk, but funny. Oh my God, was he funny. His real name is Ralph Brown, but due to his size, they called him Lardo Brown. And as I was sitting in a meeting at my group in Little Rock years ago, and somebody said, that Lardo Brown wasn't the town drunk, he was the state drunk. And I said, I used to travel with him when I was a kid, when he was a boiler inspector for an insurance company. Oh my God, I can't believe I lived through that. But I was a very sensitive, emotional child, so all that turmoil with the alcoholism in the family, I cried all the damn time. I think I was probably the healer. Hey, Jeff, how are you? And I don't know. I just want everything to be calm and quiet and peaceful, but it never was. It was just crazy. And my dad got sober in 1961. I was 10 years old. That was another thing this year. I hit 70. So between 70 age and 40 in AA, I'm like, Jesus, what a year. But the good news is I'm still here. It was awful. My mother tried so hard to keep it all together. You just knew it. And she was real pretty and tall and thin and modeled, but she'd say, I wanted to model so bad today, but I didn't have 50 cents for hose, that kind of stuff. But it was, but she kept it together. And she was one thing about my mom and the kids, she trusted our instincts all the time. She always believed, just like if we came home and said, there's a teacher that's really kind of mother go. She'd zero in and try to figure out what was wrong with that teacher. And, the kids, because you wouldn't say that unless there was really something wrong, And so I know some of you already know this story, which is my all-time favorite. But I was minding my own business one day, and we lived on a street called Kavanaugh, and two streets over was Cantrell, which are two major streets in Little Rock. And there were alleys behind everybody's houses, and the sidewalk, everybody played. You could play in the alleys then and now you get shot. But I was walking up the alley to our street, and then I got up, getting ready to go over the crest of the hill to go towards Cantrell, and Rosalind came over the hill, who was the person in the neighborhood that no one was really very fond of. And I picked up a rock about this big, and I threw it at her, which I still did. First of all, I hit her, which was with it. I was the one that stood out in right field with as a kid back going, please don't hit the ball out here. Please don't hit the ball out here. And I hit her and just went, oh my God, and I heard her scream, so I went running home. And the phone was ringing, and I went, oh my God. So I ran back to my bedroom, and I heard my mother go, hello, and she went, uh-huh, who? Oh, okay. A rock? Well, is she okay? Uh-huh, good, good, yeah, uh-huh. Well, yes, uh-huh. And then the voice, uh-huh. And she finally went, well, you know what? If you keep her in the house, people wouldn't throw rocks at her. And hung up and came and went, honey, don't throw rocks. Oh, that woman. God, she was a scream. They all were. There was humor everywhere. I think it's to keep from crying, honestly. And all my friends, my three best friends, who two of them are gone now. One of them was one of the first one in my group to get sober in the late 70s. And all four of us had alcoholic fathers, my very best friends. We didn't talk about it. Because my dad got sober first. If I was over at one house and the dad was drunk, I knew what that meant. We just never discussed it. But there was a lot of history there with alcoholism. And so I went to college, tried to go, but I wasn't interested. I just show up occasionally. As somebody would say, there's a really famous big attorney in Little Rock with the same name as mine. People go, are you the attorney? And I went, no, that would require going to class and studying. And so I'm glad to be from there. I'm glad to be back there too. But I've been around the AA community since I was 10 years old because my mother was in Al-Anon, my dad was big time with the AA stuff. And all my friends' parents were, the fathers mainly then, would come over at our house to talk to my parents. The mother would be the Al-Anon. And that still goes on. I'm in a meeting with Lisa Granati, whose parents used to come to my house all the time. And her daughter just came in. And that's the way the whole thing, we call that area of Little Rock Dysfunction Junction. There is so much alcoholism in there. It is just stunning. I was on the board for my 50-year high school reunion, and oh my God, people I've known since high school. Oh God, my mother was a horrible drunk. Her father used to pass out in the yard, and it was just. I went, well, now I knew why we all had so much in common, because we all had the same feelings, and we're all crazy as shit. But so anyway, let me keep this short. A lot of stuff happened in college. I didn't get in the fraternity I wanted to get in. I never did even look at anybody else. And it just tore me apart because all my friends were in there. And that's when I started hitting the bottle pretty heavy. Between that until I stopped. I blacked out all the time. I drove drunk all the time. I'm lucky as hell to be alive. I always said God's job for me then was a lot harder than it is now, just to keep me alive so I could get here. And I've known that. And because I watched the people in Little Rock. There's a guy named Ken McCrae who worked for my dad. My dad had a real estate business. Oddly, I wonder how I got in it. But anyway, I watched him get sober, and he had 4 boys, and his wife was just beautiful and fun. And I saw it all get back together, and they were all happy. And then next thing you know, he's drinking again. The whole thing fell apart. And I look back at that and go, thank God I got to see that stuff as a kid. So when it was my turn, I call it prepping for the course. But so when it was my turn, I knew what would happen. That's really a gift in the long run. That's a really big gift. And so got worse and got worse. I got in the hotel business. I'll speak about my last run. I got a job for Holiday Inns back in 79 at the Holiday Inn in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And so I flew down there via 18 small towns and on Southern Airlines and landed between Hattiesburg, Hatties Laurel Airport. And manager picked me up, and he said, let's go to the bar. And I went, oh, okay, the hotel. He ordered a glass of vodka with 2 pieces of ice. Not that I remember anything. It just came back. But I went, oh, good. I've got somebody I can drink with. Okay? And being the food and beverage manager, I could just sign tickets all the time. They never said a word about how much the liquor tabs were. They didn't frown on me stealing bottles out of there, but that helped me so much get to the last 2 years of the drinking, because it was awful. And of course I lost that job in November of 80, a year before. And y'all, I can see it right now, walking by that mirror in my little house, where were we? Anyway, apartment, and looking in the mirror going, who are you? I don't even know who you are. And I said, God, please help me. And then I turn on September Morn with Neil Diamond and cry a little longer. and over and over and over again. But so I had a lease car that I kind of ran into somebody in the back of them coming out of a bar, and I just took it back to Little Rocket to the car dealership and said, call this number and tell them they can come pick up their car after y'all fix it. No, I just said, call. No, I left it, and then I called them and told them where to go get the car. So I was down there, and I had no car. I didn't know what was going to happen. No job, nothing. I'm stuck in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And my dad sent me $100 for Christmas. Oh, thank God. And I met this guy who I thought was real cute, and I thought, well, I'll just go live with him in Biloxi. That'll be easy. And so, but what am I going to do this first thing? Well, I rented a U-Haul, loaded it up, took it to Monticello, Arkansas, which is where my mom had, when she'd remarried. My parents had divorced after 35 years. Daddy found love on AA campus. And her daughter told me, oh, your father bought us a stereo for Christmas. And I went, what? But anyway, that started another whole story. But I went to Monticello, put my furniture, everything in storage, spent Christmas with my mother, and it was awful. I was so drunk and so miserable, and my mom was going, what can we do? I mean, she was just trying because, she knew. And that next morning, we just all had argued, or I can't even remember, and she was, how much money do you need? I mean, Ray, my stepfather, who I loved, he was a great guy. He ended up being an alcoholic. Of course, mother married another one. But he was a great guy. And the next morning, mother, it was Friday. The reason I know it was Friday, because that was the day mother always got her hair done. I still can't understand how she could go a week without washing her hair. I mean, didn't that itch all? I mean, it was just like mine. But anyway, and she was headed out the door, and she had tears. And so she took me to, gave me a little cash, about $100 or something, and I rode the bus back to Biloxi, Mississippi, to live with, I can't even remember his name. And no, wait a minute, it might come to me. It might. Wasn't there long. I knew that was just an awful move. I got a job as the front desk manager at the Hilton, and I called in sick the first day, and they said, don't bother. And so the next thing I know, seriously, I can kind of remember packing my one big suitcase I had, and that's all I had. And I woke up in a pickup truck with this guy I kind of knew from Hattiesburg. My suitcase was in the back. I said, and I was in front of the bus station in Hattiesburg. Last thing I remember, I was in Biloxi. And I went, what? He said, this is where you wanted to come. I said, okay, like I remembered. And got the bag, went in, and I went, I don't have any money. Where am I? So I called Charlotte that I worked with, I called this friend of mine, and he wasn't home. And nobody answered. He said, well, I called his work. Nobody, and I realized, oh, it's Sunday. I didn't even know what damn day it was. And I called Charlotte, who I worked with, and she brought me $25. And I got a ticket, got on the bus to Little Rock, and there was one other person on there. And she said, where are you going? I said, Little Rock. She said, so am I. So she's probably in Al-Anon. So we stopped in Jackson, and she actually bought me lunch. And I got to Little Rock like 11 o'clock at night, and my sister had been sober 1 month. And she picked me up, said, you can stay with me tonight. And after that, Jane said, you can come stay with her in her basement. I said, okay, And it was awful. It was an awful time. And Jane was so sweet to put me down there. Anyway, that's how my 71 Pontiac Grand Safari station wagon that was about as big as this room, that a friend of mine with my old roommate had a used car lot. He'd sit over there and drink half pints all the time. And he sold me that car for like $300 or something. And we were all stoned and go, God, that car's so big. What's her name? And Jane's sister said, we call her Fluffy. Her name be Fluffy. And so you have to beat on the dashboard to get the radio to come on. And anyway, so my mom turned on me, so to speak, right in that time period. I remember getting a pink birthday card. How old was I? 30? Yeah. A pink birthday card. She got real upset when she found out I was gay. There was rumors on who actually told her. I know who told her, but that one wouldn't have admitted it. And which was shocking. Her grandfather, my great-great-great-grandfather, was gay. They didn't tell me that till I was 47. I went, I think that would have helped at a much younger age. But, and my mother, her sister, and my grandmother all had all these gay men friends. I said, y'all are all fag hags, and you don't even know it. But it hurt. It hurt real bad because she'd always been on my side all the time, and that just wasn't, that was hard. And so she was just disappointed. I know now, but long story, got enough money, called my cousin in Dallas, and I said, I'm coming. Got a little trailer, went to Monticello. We got some of my stuff. I got all my stuff out, put it in a little trailer, and I moved down here September 17th of, I think it was 17th of 2 months exactly, of 1981. And moved in with my cousin over on Pineland, where I just found out the other day when Diane had lunch, we were both there, moved there in 1981, and we didn't even know it until the other day. And so I drove by and took a picture of the apartment because it's right on the street where I got sober. And I didn't realize I was went, ooh, because I could visualize myself standing in that kitchen on Monday, the 16th of November, 1981. And I said, I can't do this anymore. I just can't do this anymore. I'd reached in the refrigerator, and there actually was a beer left, which when I look back, was stunning because there's never one left. I drink everything. I always said, thank God I didn't have a lot of money when I was drinking because I would have been dead. Oh, my God, I couldn't afford just awful. So I remember opening that beer and taking a sip and pouring it out. That's when I said, I can never do this. I just can't do this anymore. And I'd been, back then, the TWT, what was that little magazine? Twit. Had AA's number in the back of it. And I'd call and hang up. This is before call waiting. This is before anything like that. Still had what they call pay phones. And, so I'm going to hang up. They're going to know who it is, And so I'd call and hang up. Well, I got, finally, just said, okay. And I somehow got the number for the Alpha Group, which at that time was out at Bachman Lake above the Arthur Murray Dance Studio, which I said was quite appropriate since I was out dancing every fucking night. And I got lost. I didn't know. I've only been in Dallas 2 months. I got lost, and I stopped and used that payphone and called and got directions and climbed those stairs. I was a few minutes late, and I've been here since. Now, my dad called me that morning. We never hardly ever talked because he admitted, with 3 alcoholic children, he kind of didn't like to answer his phone, period. And at that time, he was sober 20 years. And he said, okay, I was getting ready to head out to go to the meeting. He said, where are you going? I said, AA meeting. He said, great, my prayers have been answered. And he hung up the phone. Well, that scared me because I can't believe he prayed. But he prays. So, and I got, after the meeting, a lady named Leslie took me across the street to the Dixie house, got fried chicken, and we chatted, and she helped me. And I thought, what would have happened if that sweet thing hadn't have taken me across the street? And I ate lunch with her, and I got home, and the phone rang again. It was my dad. And he said, I want you to do 3 things. I want you to keep it simple and go to meetings, and please go in your room and get on your knees and pray and ask God to remove the compulsion to drink. And I went, I can't even get on my knees at a Catholic church. And I was one just sitting in the pew. I refused. And so I did. I went in my tiny little room, shut the door, closed the blinds, because everybody in town was on the outside of the window looking in to see me on my knees praying. And I said that prayer. And I tell as many people as I possibly can to please do that. I don't know if it's that simple and it works that easy, but it honestly worked for me. That's all I can say. And that started my journey. And I was in the first Alateen group in Little Rock. So, I already knew a lot, My mother would take me to some Al-Anon speakers, and I'd cry, but I knew a lot. I'd been around. I knew a lot about AA. Hell, I didn't know anything. But fortunately, there was a lady at the Alpha group that said, I think you need to go over to this group over on McKinney named Lambda. And gosh, if I could think of her name, I know you'd know it if I said it. I always wondered what happened to her. And when I was at the Traditions group one day, Sue and Chandler were there, and I mentioned her name. Sue said, oh, she's one of my best friends. I went, where? I said, I'm how many years sober now? And I've never known. She said, oh, and brought me her picture. And I went, oh my God. She said she had a hard time staying sober, But anyway, that's what I love about this community. And so I showed up to Lambda, and the knock wouldn't open. I thought, oh God, just like a gay bar, I got to knock on the door to get in. Back in those days, they had to knock, ring the bell, because the police would always come and arrest you or take your name and address, and So a lot of people don't realize we know a lot about discrimination, but we do. And I always say, if you haven't experienced it, you really don't know what it feels like. But I think Mark actually answered the door. And God, I don't know if I can get through this, but okay. So I found my home, and gosh, I was wilder than hell. I look back and go, I can't believe I wanted to date somebody so bad. I wouldn't have dated me for 5 or 10 years. And when I look back and go, God, I was crazy as shit. Who would put up with that? But I stayed. If I've got a message on that to start off with, I'm just telling you, this is what's worked for me. I've never gone longer than 7 days without a meeting in Alcoholics Anonymous. One of my first 10 or 12 years, I think I went every day that I could. I'd felt guilty if I didn't. I've sponsored people, helped people, done everything I can. I was thinking today that Michael Allison Mike Harrell, and I were all three executive directors at the Intergroup Association, year back to back to back. I said, so three gay men in the 90s, that was a pretty big deal. That was a pretty big deal. And I had a hard time finding a sponsor. You know how we are. I don't want to ask anybody because we're afraid they're going to tell us no. We're, again, going to be rejected again. They won't like us. They're not going to help us. They're not. And what I realized what that is, I realized it not too long ago, is I didn't think I deserved it. I didn't think I deserved to be happy as y'all were. Oh, I couldn't stand happy people at that point. Oh my God, what are they so fucking happy about? Excuse me. You couldn't possibly be that happy. No, unless, well, I'm not going to go there. But, and I fought it, but I finally started working the steps. And y'all, these steps can do anything you want them to do for your life. Anything. On anything, any situation, anything you want them to work for. And as hard as I fought it, it's the best damn thing I've ever done. You know, I was so adamant about not doing it the right way. I had a horrible tooth. I was in so much pain, I just finally wrote my 4-step. I had to get a toothache pain to stay up all night to write my damn 4-step and get it over with. You just don't understand. You won't relate to anything. You won't, I overreacted. That's my favorite. But, so I did my steps, did my 4-step with, God, what was his name? The guy that had a beeper and about 30 sponsees. But anyway, I can't remember his name. But, I'm completely blank. Wait till you're 70, you'll understand. But I'm glad I did my step, and I'm glad I did all that. I went back to Little Rock, made a few amends, and I know my parents were so thrilled. Oh my God. And my sister helped me a lot at the first too. And back then, we were just packed in there. Cigarette smoke, it was just awful. And we had been there about a year, and the parlor squalor guy came in back here, and I was there for his first meeting, and we bonded, and we've been friends since then. We were both parlor squalors, but and we'd sit in that kitchen. They break off the meetings in that kitchen, and I'm just going to tell you, Alcoholics Anonymous is, when you have a thing like COVID, that's when you really realize how important it is for some total situation you've never seen before. Because we have all these tools from doing this deal. And we have all these things that keep us semi-sane. I'm speaking for myself. And people don't. They don't know how to deal with this. They're stuck in their houses. They don't know that things are going to be okay. It's actually exactly the way it's supposed to be. They don't know these kind of things we get to learn. It's such a gift. I still think I'm one of the luckiest people I've ever known to be here. And so my journey started, and is this clock? Am I clocking? What time is it? 12:15? Oh, good. This is right. And my journey started, and I had a wild-ass group of people I was hanging out with. But we had so much fun. We'd go to that 11 o'clock meeting a lot. Lamb had that 11 o'clock meeting. We'd all eat, go to Denny's at midnight, eat chicken fried steak. Every night. And just talk and gossip and stare and that went on for years. And but I loved those guys. And we just hung out and we had more fun. I can remember Danny Hayes and Skip Barnes and I were on our way to the state fair. And Danny was driving his little his little Ford truck, and I was in the middle between the two of them. And I was managing my first apartment building. I got into managing in 1984, and Danny said, "It's cold in my apartment." And Skip said, "Well, if you not stand in front of the refrigerator with the door open all the time, it wouldn't be." Loved all that humor all those years. And Jim, all that. We just had a great group of people. And we hung out together. We did things together. That's one thing I've noticed. It's not as, at least Little Rock is not as big as it used to be. All people going out to eat after meetings. Oh, that was huge. Meeting after the meeting was some of the best ones. But anyway, I think I did as much as I needed to do to keep coming, because there's only certain times you can, if I got bombarded all at once with everything I really knew I needed to work on at one time, I don't know if I would have stayed. There was so much. I mean, I remember 5 years ago going, am I still doing this? But I was hanging out with the group, got kind of crazy. The group did, and we were all about shutting down Intergroup because they were selling Hazleton literature. Well, that is not AA approved literature. And so Mark was working part-time at the, yeah. I mean, we were going to do it too. So Mark was working at Intergroup, and my next door neighbor then at the apartment. As I would go over there and he'd go, honey, you okay? And I go, I'm just fine. He'd go, tell your face. And he called me and said, we need a volunteer out here today. Can you come right now? And I said, okay. Oh, good. I'm going to go spy. I'm going to find out how we're going to do this. And I got there and I started answering the phone. And within 30 minutes, I went, oh my God, I'm hanging out with the wrong crowd. They're doing nothing but helping other alcoholics. I'm not doing that. No, I got chills. And I came home and realized I needed to make a change. And that's when I started going to the Alano group. And so that's the kind of stuff that if you hang around long enough, you can go through your crazy stuff. You can still do whatever, you just hang in. Just keep going. One day it's going to change. Or as I say, my behavior got so bad, I finally noticed it. May have taken 5 years. But, and my other favorite thing, I don't even know who said this here, but I say it all the time in Little Rock. They always tell you have to love everybody. And I went, oh, how the hell are you going to do that? You tell an alcoholic's got 3 months of sobriety, you need to love everybody when they don't even love themselves. I said, okay, I can try to love everybody. And then they said, but you don't have to like everybody. I said, oh, good and out. And then the best part, if you do like everybody, you're not going to enough meetings. Exactly. There's another catch. But I'm just so glad I'm here, I'm so glad I've been a part of this community for so many years. We did so many things. There's 1, 2, 3 people in here I sponsor. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think if I may miss somebody, but gosh, where's Chris? Chris was so hyper. I know y'all find that hard to believe. I would sit in my living room like this. I was at a tennis match. You'll be fine. Yeah, that's okay. But by God, we made it. But anyway, I loved Alcoholics Anonymous. I loved the things that I started feeling about myself and my relationships and how things started changing. John and I were laughing about it yesterday about when we just didn't have a pot to piss in, I slept in my car the summer before I came to AA. I mean, I slept in Fluffy for like 5 nights. I worked at the restaurant in Little Rock called Cajun's Wharf, which was hugely successful. And I was the day kitchen manager and I had to make all these sauces with wines. I don't know why I never thought about not drinking that wine in the morning. But anyway, I remember waking up with rain hitting me in the face. I was passed out in the back seat. And, oh, God. But Robert White came to the Tropics Apartments and opened the gate, and I heard it open because I was out by the pool. I had a strenuous job during that day. It was at the pool. And I said, can I help you? He said, I'm thinking about buying this place. And I said, well, let me show you my apartment. He was so attractive. I thought that was not my original intent, to be helpful for you to view their. But anyway, always a motive. But so he came and he looked around and he ended up buying the place several months later. And I worked there part-time. They had a couple running it, and they would do his other property during the week, and I'd sit there and wait through the phones. And one day, and I hadn't seen him for a day or two. The pool was turning green, and he called me and said, break in their apartment and see if they're, I said, break in their apartment? I said, oh, I might know someone here that can, some alcoholics over there. I'm sure out of this group, somebody knows how to break into an apartment. And so, but anyway, I could look through the mini blinds and see everything was gone. So that's how I got into property management. I mean, seriously, you never know. You never know. And then we got some more buildings, and then we added this, we added that. I was doing all of it, run 2 on Cedar Springs, 1 on Travis. I was running around doing all this stuff, and then we did FDIC stuff when the savings and loans all crashed, and I was doing all this stuff, and then everything collapsed. Everybody had waiting lists, and 6 months later, everybody was half empty, half full. It was crazy. Everybody just left. And I don't know what happened with it. But we called the Tropics Lambda South for a long time because there's so many people that live there. Charlie Brown and Roger and, God, who else? Who? Tom Brown, Rita Mae, and there were a bunch of us. Danny Hayes, Skip Barnes, Jim Williams, Jonathan, a.k.a. Wallet Woman. She tanned a lot. Princess Gardner was her other name. But, and what an experience that was. I can remember sitting on my couch watching TV and this 3 little lights coming by flashing in my window. And I'm going, it's Charlie Brown out there with his hat on, but had lights on it. And I'm like, this place is crazy. Absolutely crazy. And that was the year Patrick was around then too. The bus trip. Were you around when the bus trip? Jim was, because Jim and I went. Lambda decided we needed to take a trip to South Padre Island for a weekend. Okay, now it sounds great. But if you're not from Texas, you don't realize how damn far South Padre Island is. You might as well have driven to Salt Lake City. I mean, it's like, good God. So anyway, luxury bus. Oh, Pat Baker got it all together. Patsy Sue Baker, as Ed Davis used to call him. And pissed him off every time. And so we get on this bus in August, hotter than you know what it is here. And we head to Padre Island on this old bus that had been remodeled with burnt orange velour velvet in there. And we're sitting there, and I'm like, luxury bus? But so between Waco and Austin, there was a little TV in the back, and it started going screens, started going like this. And who was the guy that was driving the guy driving the bus had been in AA, but we weren't sure if he was still in AA. And he was driving the bus. And yeah, oh, it gets better. It gets real good now. And so I went up there and I said, is there something wrong? He said, I think, yeah, because I'm going to have to turn off the air conditioning. And I went in August on a bus in Dallas. Okay. And they had those little pop windows about that big. It's the only thing you could open. He said, I'm going to pull over in this next rest area, and I'm going to let y'all out, and I'm going to take the bus over to this truck stop to see if they can fix it that we'd passed. Oh, okay. I mean, okay, so we all file off the bus. He leaves. Parlor squatter gets her wig out of has to wear it while we're at the, so we're sitting there. There's 75 people sitting in the rest area and no cars in the middle of nowhere. And people would drive in and you'd hear them just keep, Oh my God. And finally, we had a meeting. We all held hands and prayed and said, oh, please send the bus back. I mean, at this point, he's gone to drink, and he did it on purpose, and he's mad at us, and he's going to leave us out here. Hey, people. But anyway, so the bus came back. He said, I'm sorry, they're sending another bus. They can't fix this one. And he took us to the truck stop. 75 gay and men and lesbians get off and get in the bus. I immediately changed from my purple shorts and pink shirt to a pair of jeans and something more conservative. I didn't want to get shot halfway between Waco and Austin. I did have that sense. But anyway, their faces were worth it, every bit of it. The next morning, we get to Corpus Christi to eat breakfast. I told Jim the other day, I said, oh my God, the look on that waitress's face when she walked in the room and Charlie Brown had his compact up and was putting it on. I said, that alone was worth the trip. But we finally get to Padre Island at 11 o'clock in the morning. We left Dallas at 5 that afternoon before. And we get there, we couldn't check in till 1. I'm going, how much more endurance? And then we had a meeting, about 6 o'clock, we're up in the room looking, they're throwing the pool furniture in the pool. They're throwing the furniture into the pool. And the turn of the weather, there's a hurricane coming. And I go, good. Great. And so 11 o'clock, we hadn't even been there inside our rooms 12 hours. 11 o'clock. They called everybody and tell us we have to evacuate the island because the hurricane's coming. Well, here comes everybody back down with their luggage. That was worth it too. But on the way out, there were only about 5 of us that had a good time after that. We stopped and got hurricane food and, can we get hurricane? Everybody else was pissed off. So long, we get to Dallas the next afternoon at 2:30, and on the radio it said, and by the way, the hurricane turned south and missed Padre Island. But almost everybody on that bus stayed sober for quite a long time. A lot of patience, tolerance, and, we can do this. And that's the kind of stuff that, thank God, you get to experience. And later on, all that property management stuff, I ended up having my own property management business, which I'd always wanted to see if I could do that because I kept bringing in business for other people. And I thought, well, how can I do this? How can I do this? My mom, let me back up a minute because I wanted to tell you this about my mom. She and Ray came down for an SMU game and we were all going to go to the game. And I said, well, y'all just stay with me. And I went, oh shit, I got a 1-bedroom apartment. And, they came, I slept on the couch, and she said, I knew I needed to talk to her. I hadn't been sober but a few years. I knew I needed to talk to her. And I said, come on, I want to talk to you. And I said, I want to tell you something. You could have never not done anything different. You couldn't have said anything, changed anything, done anything different that would have changed anything in my life at that point. I said, I went through everything I had to go through exactly the way that I had to go through it to get to where I needed to get. And she just went, her whole body changed. And then she got on her gay soapbox after that. She was all on our side. But anyway, I have a picture somewhere of my great-grandfather in a linen suit in Cuba where my great-grandmother and my grandmother and her 2 sisters had to get on a boat from Savannah, Georgia to go down there and get him. Because he was down there with his boyfriend. They had to all get on the boat. And I have a picture of me in my white linen suit, my 20-year high school reunion. I went, a lot of familiarity there. But I feel like I'm skipping something I need to say. Let me think a second. I got a little restless back in, I like to move for some reason. Well, I know why. My dad was in real estate. He'd come home, honey, I sold the house. We moved. Mother go, damn, I like this one. But, we moved a lot. So I decided to go back to Arkansas. That didn't work out. But what happened was I was in Hot Springs, and my dad lived in Hot Springs. And I got to spend time with my father for the very first time. We would go to dinner almost every night, 5 o'clock. Beep, beep, 5 o'clock. We didn't have that much in common other than Alcoholics Anonymous. I will say the first time I came to see him when I was sober and I brought him a Father's Day card that said, I love you in it, I don't think I'd ever even told him that or he'd ever tell me. And he got tears when we hugged and stuff, which, I mean, that meant a lot. And we got to spend a lot of time together, which was really the first time for like a year. And I came back, and that was when I started working for Ken Murkison, and then that's when I ended up with my own business. I had a client I brought into the company from San Jose, and I mean, he was in Gamblers Anonymous, and he was buying up some of the worst apartment buildings you've ever seen. I was turning them around and changing them. I'm real good at turning things around. Well, my life, what I did with my life, I do with buildings now. I mean, that's what I've done. I mean, I turn them around and get them cleaned up and running right. I guess I'm running right. And I thought, how am I going to do this? I don't want to steal it from the business I work for. And I told Joseph the other day, we were driving around over by Meadow Lane, over there where all the apartments were, killing a little time before we went to pick Diane up. And I said, somewhere right over in here, I was sitting at a four-way stop with Dr. Korb, and he said, why don't you leave that company? I'll give you my building so you can start your own business. And it was right in the middle of that. I went, wow, that was easy. You know, it is easy if we'll just I'll tell you about the get out of the way. And that's how my business got started. But in that time frame, that was 1993. I knew my brother was dying. He had untreated skin cancer that I'm on skin care. And a lot of it. But no, I'm kidding. He let it go, and it was awful. Just ate his face up. It's just horrible. I just always think Wally wouldn't have done that if he had known what was going to happen. But he wouldn't go to the doctor again. He wouldn't do anything. And he died in July of 93. My mother in May of 93. My sister flew in from New York. She said, I don't think Mother's doing as good as what she says she is. And she found her on the floor of her little retirement thing home she was in. Because we'd moved her back to Little Rock after Ray passed away. And he rushed her to the hospital and saved her. And I'm trying to start my business. So it was a little crazy. Because my mom was in rehab for like 3 months. And my brother died while she was in rehab. She couldn't go to the funeral. Of course, we had my sister-in-law had a friend that did taped weddings, so she came and taped the funeral. People were going, why are they taping the funeral? But anyway, we didn't care. And so we showed Mother the video, and she never spoke about it. She never mentioned it. Never talked about it again. But that was a great experience having my own business. When I started it, I went, I'm going to find out if it's them or me now. I've always blamed everybody else for everything they ever do at work. And I finally figured out I don't like anybody to bother me if I don't want to be bothered. I don't care if you're paying me or not. I said, and I always go, I don't complain when the check clears the bank. I only complain when you call me to do my job. I was walking one day. I went, oh, that's what it is. Another one of those things after 65 years, you figure. But so I left in 2003. I moved to Florida. Yeah, that was crazy. Went down there to see my friend Rita. The next thing I knew, I bought a house. I didn't go down there to buy a house. And I came back. I told the next door neighbor, I said, I'll sell that house in a week. And it sold in 5 days. And went to Florida, then back to Little Rock, back to Dallas. Northwest Arkansas, back to Little Rock. I said, my cats lived in like 15 places in 10 years, But the journey, I want to talk about what I've realized in the last few years about being in Alcoholics Anonymous and what it can do for you. I mean, first of all, you got to do the work. And I love that speaker we had at Alano one time that said you can either be in AA or around AA. And that is so true. I mean, you can show up once a year and get a chip, or I'm not being critical, but just a little word of warning. That usually doesn't work out too good. As I always said, I've never heard anybody come back and go, God, that's the best thing I ever did. But I had, out of my family, my dad, my sister, myself, my brother, he was the last one. We all came in the program. My mother's brother, now my niece. I have a couple of cousins who quit drinking. And to tell you how this thing works, and it can work, every one of us came into Alcoholics Anonymous, and not a one of us ever went back out. And you don't have to do that again. You don't ever have to go out there and do that again. And if you do, just come back. Because it ain't going to change. It's not going to get different. The only thing that's going to get different is you coming in here and doing the steps and helping other people and doing what you're supposed to do. I pray every day to ask God to show me what I can do each day for the alcoholic still suffers. And I add to that, what can I do for you today? Because God knows he's done enough for me. Good Lord. He can take my crazy ass and make me somewhat sane. And I've had some good, I'm really glad I've gotten to go do the things I've gotten to do. Every town I went in, everything I did, I know why I went. I had a good friend in Pensacola Dale Wiggins, Mrs. Wiggins. And I mean, he was just a total mess. He bipolar. His family had a pretty good chunk of change, and he went to Mercer to school in Georgia. And he said, I was on one of my and I was just wild. I went to Neiman's and got a canary yellow men's diamond ring and a mink coat and said, call the bank in Pensacola. They'll agree. They'll pay for it. And they did. He said 2 days later, I had to take this back. But I love me some Dale Wiggins. We stayed in touch for a long time. And then I said I hadn't heard from him, and we did call when he told me what happened. He almost died, and then he did die right after that. But I can tell all my stops along the road where I was supposed to be, why, And the job, when I came back here in 2009 and stayed till 12, which is almost 10 years ago now, I called the guys who I used to work for in Little Rock, and I said, Blair, you have 8 hotels in Northwest Arkansas you're managing for other people. And I said, who the hell who's watching those? He said, well, I'm doing it from here. I said, are you crazy? And he went, yeah. And I said, well, do you want me to go up there and take care of him? He said, would you? And so I said, yeah, let me come. I'll drive in the car, drove to Little Rock. We talked about it. And 2 weeks later, I was moving to Bentonville. And it was in Bentonville, Arkansas, after all these years that I finally figured out exactly how good I am at what I do. It took me that long to realize. People say, oh, you're so good at it. I go, I am really good at it. I took a hotel in Harrison, Arkansas, in the middle of Clansville. One of my managers said, Gary, please be careful when you're in Harrison. And because the Klan is based right outside of there somewhere. And I turned that thing around. They sold it in 2 years. I did that for another buy. I mean, I was just all over the place. Projects, remodeling the hotels, getting the scores up I was just like, I was so proud of myself. Say, damn, But I wouldn't have had any of that or known how to do any of that if I hadn't come in here or had the courage to do any of that or go even try to do anything different. I was one of those that loved to run back home and move and go somewhere. I can pack and move so fast. I don't know if I do that job. Good Lord, that heat's on. You can get out of there real quick. And I've just really had a fantastic life. I really have. And I had met with Melissa, a friend of mine from Little Rock, moved up there, and we would run around. And I mean, it was great that my sister moved up there. And I'm going to try to get to this with an ending. About that job ended 4 years ago this month. They came up and said, we just don't have any more projects. And I thought, I thought I was going to be here until I retired. But after I emotionally got through that, I went, oh, thank God I get to go back home. I mean, no one's from there up there. Bentonville, when I was at the University of Arkansas, I'd never heard of Bentonville. That's how small it was. Fayetteville was 9,000 people. Springdale was like 5. Rogers was maybe 2, and now there's 600,000 people in those 2 counties. That's how much it's a nice area. a lot of good jobs. And I mean, you got Tyson's, Walmart, University of Arkansas, J.B. Hunt. I mean, they give back to the community. That's what's beautiful about it. And two things. I moved back it's 4 years ago this month, end of this month, to Little Rock. Now, I have a sister that really helped me get here. And we had a lot of times where she did things that were not right. Okay? And the first thing was when I was a baby, she rolled me off the bed and hit my head on the floor. I should have known then, but I wasn't old enough. But anyway, I'm trying to keep this, because she has passed away. But I discovered a lot of things she did financially over the years, over to me, about other people, And finally, about 5 years ago, and I said, I just can't participate in this any longer. I just couldn't. I did one time, didn't talk to her for a number of years, and Charlie Stewart. I had a great conversation about that. And it was hard. And then she got sick, and I said, I sent her a text, hope you're okay. But I couldn't participate anymore. And I felt, what is going to happen when she dies? How am I going to really feel? Am I going to feel guilty because I didn't participate and I wasn't by her side the whole time? Or how am I going to feel? But I kept thinking, I kept knowing I'm not going to participate. I'm done. I can't. I saw my brother-in-law in Little Rock because his son is actually my brother-in-law. I introduced him to his first wife in the 70s when we worked together. And now he ended up with my sister. He was number 6. He was the last husband. And you need to call your sister. I said, John, I'm not participating anymore. I'm not participating. And his son went, oh, thank God you said that. I was getting ready to come in there and tell Dad to lay off. And it was hard. And I want to tell y'all, this is the strangest thing that happened the morning she passed away. Jacqueline, my niece, called me. And my niece has 23 years of sobriety now. Isn't that crazy? And she said, Mom, so we cried on the phone a little bit. And literally, I got up to walk from my bed to my bathroom. And I got to the bathroom door, and something just went out of my body, and I wobbled. I went, what the hell was that? I said, was that all those years of all that built up inside of me that just flew out of my body? It was the strangest thing, but I know that's what it was, And that weekend, I went out to the cemetery, to our little headstone, the family, with the green name on it. And I sat up there and I said, okay, all of y'all are gone. I'm the last one here, and don't expect to see me anytime soon. And I meant it, because here's the deal. My dad and my sister both died with 39 years of sobriety. I'm 70. My mother died when she was 70. My sister died when she was 71. And my brother was 51 when he died, and my dad was 79. So I'm in that framework. When you get to this older age, it's like, how much longer am I going to be here? If I'd known I was going to live this long, I'd saved a little money. But anyway, a couple of bucks wouldn't hurt right now. But it's time to go. That was so healing. I didn't have any effect from it. We had a tiny little memorial thing, and it was okay. I was just there. I was done with it. And I'll close with this. When my dad's prostate cancer came back in 2001, it came back, he'd been okay for 15 years. And it came back really fast and went up his spine. And I went to Hot Springs on a Tuesday or Wednesday in February, and he was in the hospital bed. She got him a bed so he could see the lake. He loved the lake, and he loved Frank Sinatra, so he got to hear Frank Sinatra music and look at the lake. And I got there and he didn't know who I was. It's the morphine. But I kept standing there and he kept looking and looking. And I talked to him, and my sister and her husband went in the other room. I said, Dad, God, you can go if you want to. Go. You're just in horrible pain. You can go, please go. You don't have to do this anymore. And then I was standing on the other side of the bed, and I put the glass. No, this is before that. Wait, it doesn't matter. Put the glasses on. He still couldn't tell. And finally, these tears started rolling down his cheeks, and he went, Son. And I went, oh my God. If I'd missed that, that tells you everything you need to know right there. He loved me my whole life. And I never really knew it till then. And see, because it doesn't happen till it's time for it to happen. And so my motto this last year has been, get out of the way. I'm the word, get out of my own fucking way and let things happen the way they're supposed to happen. You'll be a lot happier. Thank you.